Welcome to The Family Skeptical, Parenting Through Nonbelief.
We're a married atheist couple raising two wonderful, strange children. We ask big questions, dissect weird parenting moments, and examine how society ignores or misrepresents families like ours. If you're any stripe of nonbeliever who's involved in raising children, welcome. You are our people.
Our kids have heard all our swears, but yours might not have, so be thoughtful if there are young people listening with you.
Young people listening with you.
People.
Yeah, we're on a bit of a noun and pronoun adventure.
Yeah, so the kids just started school.
The kids.
And Reader is starting middle school. And I was a little bit nervous about that because middle school can be a tough time. And everything is going great. So that is amazing. So happy about that. But a week before middle school, Reader let us know that they wanted to use they, them pronouns.
Which is, considering everything, just incredible timing the week before 6th grade.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope in everything we've done, we've made it clear that this is the kind of situation where we want to support them 100%.
Oh, yes.
I was nervous about that decision, just sort of going into a year of change anyway. They initially said that they just wanted to try it out kind of within the family. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they
pretty quickly turned the corner to wanting some people to know.
Well, and I think they've sort of rolled it out fully.
I don't think
school.
So.
No?
Not from anything they've said to me.
Well, it's in a poem they wrote that's posted on the wall outside their classroom.
Oh, I didn't know the poem was public. All right.
Very public. Anyways,
well,
we should probably check in about that. So clearly we are working hard to use they, them pronouns. It has been harder, at least for me, than I thought it would be. So I will most certainly fuck up. We are trying our best. And
now, is that the royal we?
No, I truly just meant no. No, it's we.
No. I've had plenty of slips. I just think I don't. What it comes down to is I think I'm not beating myself up over it as much.
Maybe.
And you shouldn't. You really shouldn't. Like they love that we're supportive, and that matters more than anything else. So.
Yeah, and because they had said they just, I mean, who knows? Since they had said they just wanted to keep it in the family, I did ask Reader about the podcast and how they wanted me to treat that. And they said that they wanted me to use their new pronouns on the podcast. So
there it is.
There it is. That's what you'll be hearing, except when we fuck up. And I think it was so funny because, the one thing I know about Reader is that Reader tends to do a really good job knowing themselves in ways that often surprise me. So I know that whatever this is part of expressing is very true to them. I also know that this is the same kid who 2 nights ago came in and was like, lesbians, they're the female gay ones, right? I was like, yep, got it. But I think as they grow and learn more about this world, I just think based on their kind of experience and knowledge, they might find sort of terms or ways of expressing this that fit them even better. So not because they don't understand what's happening with them, but I think as open as we've been and as much as we've talked with them about, there's a very sort of wide range of expressions and definitions and ways to look at the gender sort of non-binary. And so I've just made it clear that this is a time of huge change, and we're going to do everything to support them in how they want us to support them on it, but that they aren't locked into anything. So I don't know. That's kind of how I'm feeling about it.
Ditto.
So that's that. And at least so far, all my worries have sort of been, I don't know. I mean, they've been doing way better than I was doing in middle school. So we will see. It doesn't hurt that it seems like there was a night where we could go in and meet their teachers. And I have to say, they seem to have.
Their teachers look so much fun.
Oh, man. It is like so much better than my middle school experience. It's just a really vibrant, cool group of people there. So
I can't wait for activities to start.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, because when they were talking about the potential for chess club, I turned to Reader and I was like, chess club? And you're just like, yeah, maybe. Because remember, Reader did chess back at their former school.
Oh, right. I totally forgot about that. There's also ASL.
The fact that there's an ASL club for middle schoolers is just straight fire, like lava. That is so cool.
I did.
What use that like, if you wanted, you could start studying ASL in middle school and just progress quickly to getting a degree in it and teaching, and you have a career like straight out of college without a master's that will carry you for as long as you want, because it isn't like deaf people are vanishing. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, well, cochlear implants have changed.
Also true.
The deaf community a lot. But.
Sure, but ASL still, like, even when you have a cochlear implant, like, you're still probably also going to know a certain amount, at least. Not saying like you communicate with it all the time. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know if that's always true. There's actually
I guess it depends on when you get your cochlear implant.
Yeah. And also if your family is deaf. So
True.
There's a lot of strong feelings about cochlear implants because the deaf community is like very proud and very strong. And
understandable.
There is, I watched a documentary. I'm not an expert, but there certainly was a time where the deaf community was feeling like, hearing parents were getting their kids cochlear implants, and then those kids were sort of being denied access to the deaf community, and there were some definite kind of...
That raised a really interesting question that we don't even have to fully discuss today. What if something similar happened with autism?
Oh, yeah.
Like, because there's such a wide array, and like, how would that look? What kind of changing forms of identity and self-expression would come up out of that? Because obviously, if you have a child, for instance, and you get like some sort of neural implant that does a thing that alleviates symptoms, but that fundamentally changes who your child is or could be, I could see potentially like a similar situation arise, because then you cease to be the person that you were, because it's fundamentally changing how your brain works.
I mean,
like a Phineas Gage thing, right? Dude has accident, starts like the nicest dude in the world, ends up like Ebenezer Scrooge times a bazillion.
I mean, I think it's very different, but with all of the debates about some very popular autism therapies, I feel like that is more or less the debate being held.
Like it's already happening. Like
not that there's medicine to.
No, I understand.
Take away,
there's not like a magic bullet right now. This is all obviously exceptionally hypothetical, because I don't know if that sort of thing will ever happen.
No, but I think, what is it called? Is it ABA therapy?
I don't know, maybe. I am absolutely, you're probably up on this more than I am, which is weird, but there it is.
Yeah, I think it's ABA therapy.
What is it?
I'm very sorry if I'm using the wrong term. It's applied...
ABA therapy?
Yep, applied behavior analysis.
Okay.
And It's very commonly used with children with autism.
Okay.
And the idea is I'm reading an AI overview. So this is absolutely the best definition you can find and 100% scientifically correct. I am being sarcastic, but AI says it is an approach to change behavior by applying behavioral principles, most notably positive reinforcement. And by, I think, many was sort of considered the gold standard for therapy for children with autism, autistic kids. And I read a book, which is much better than an AI overview, written by a mom with kids, with autistic kids, and an autistic woman. Mm-hmm. And there are many people in the autistic community who really feel like it's more or less just giving kids tools to mask.
Yeah.
And found it like
changing who they are, like conditioning a kid to be somebody other than who they naturally are so they can fit into society.
And found it like very stressful and negative for them. So that is like an open debate. So there are people on both sides.
Be, like,
I'm not like.
But how hard is it as a parent? And here we are having a fucking discussion about it.
Yeah.
How hard is it as a parent though when your child is like, from your perception at least, suffering in that they're not able to integrate into their community, right?
Yeah.
In the way that you think that they could or should. But the trade-off being that they've fundamentally changed.
It's hard.
Yeah. Oh man. But I'm going to be thinking about this for a while. I mean, that's a sort of like ethical quandary that I think that makes me wish that I knew more about philosophy.
Yeah. I have the book. You might find it interesting.
Okay. Thanks.
And I'll link to it in the show notes. Okay. But yeah, ASL, amazing. I just read a book. It's by a comedian, Moshe Kasher, and it's called Subculture Vulture. And it's about like the different subcultures he's sort of been a part of.
Okay.
And his mom is deaf. So
for her whole life or from illness or something? Okay.
From her whole life. So he grew up knowing sign language. It was an interpreter for a while.
That's awesome.
There's a whole section about the deaf community. And like, I find sign language so fascinating. I was in sign language club in high school, and all I remember is the British sign for sex and rabbi. But, you know.
Wait, are they very similar to where you can misconstrue?
No.
That would be absolutely amazing.
No, but the British sign for sex is the American sign for soda. So I remember it because my sign language teacher had a very funny story about that. But just everything he talked about with ASL, it is a fascinating language, and it is very much not like one-to-one with spoken language. There are things you can do in sign language that are just like totally unique to sign language, which I think is so cool. So anyway, so just to say, there are many, and you know what? Reader has expressed no interest.
No.
Probably won't do it. I'm just saying there are
I probably have more interest.
My mom was thinking about learning it, but anyways.
Maybe
but
she should go back to 6th grade.
There you go. But there are just a lot of interesting things coming up. So I mentioned in an earlier episode that I had been having a bit of a hard time mentally this summer. And I don't know if I have that much to say about it. I kind of wanted to bring it up because for our final topic, I didn't bring it up sooner, kind of because of this. So
okay.
It was so funny because I've been going back and listening to all of our old episodes. Because I can't remember what we talked about. And I also am like trying to learn from them. But I just listened to the one from like right after the move when we were still like very much in the middle of moving. And it's also funny because like this is, I mean, the end of the summer is when we moved last year. So I also have this like 1 line a day journal, and then it's for 5 years. So like you look back on the same line you wrote the previous years that day. And so it was interesting seeing all the ones from the move. But in that episode, I talk about the wonderful therapist I had before we moved, and how she taught me that like a big part of my anxiety is thinking about like being worried that not worrying about the thing will make it happen. So like she really helped me with a lot of situations where I felt like I couldn't give up my anxiety about a thing because then it would happen. And it was good to listen to because we already talked about how I need to get back into therapy. But like, I think a lot of that anxiety came back for me this summer. I think it has like a new twinge to it where I also like, it's no longer being worried that if I don't worry about the thing, it'll happen. But like, so go just learn to ride a bike. And Reader just got back into riding bikes. And it's been so amazing. And they've been so into it. And I don't know, it's just been really cool. And it's like a thing that they seem always happy to do. And it's been nice for me because I've sort of been like, there's a trail by our house. So I kind of walk the trail and they go much farther because they're obviously going much faster than me. And then they kind of come back and I turn around and meet them. But it means I've been getting out to walk more, which I wasn't doing a lot. Like, it's been lovely, right? But I was out walking the trail. I think this is like the first time just the three of us did the trail together. Mm-hmm. And I had pictures of both of them on their bikes. And while I was walking, I like texted them to the family text thread. And then I immediately regretted it because like the kids weren't back and at home yet. And I was like, oh, since I texted this like wonderful thing, they're going to get hurt on the bike ride. Because I didn't wait until I was sure that everything was okay.
That's awful lot of superstition for a non-God believer.
I know it's not true. It's just the way my anxiety works. So that's, so yeah. So the summer has, they started out at a Jewish summer camp, and it happened to start right when the Israeli war with Iran was happening. And I knew very little about this camp before we did it. There were tons of Israeli kids who come to be counselors, which was great, very cool. But, there's been a lot of tension about Israel. That entire time, I was very scared that somebody would do something bad towards that camp or the place where it's run or, so there was like all of that anxiety. Then, they did sleepover camp, which they've never done before. I had a lot of faith in that program, but it was also very, just like you can picture bad things happening there. Obviously, it was wonderful. We talked about in the last episode, even to the point when we visited my family in Wisconsin and we got to go to the Wisconsin State Fair, which was amazing. But I've been talking to my mom about this and there's like, is it a sky glider? What do you call those things?
A what?
The chairs in the sky that you ride at the state fair.
I don't know.
It's
you're talking about the gondolas? I don't know what they call their gondola.
I don't remember what they call them, but it's like, it's a chair and you sit in it and like a little bar comes down and it's just
it's like a ski lift.
Yeah. It's like a slow, gentle ride over the park.
That occasionally pauses for no reason.
Yes. Well, people have to get on and off and other stuff. But like my mom knew I would not be able to go on it with the kids. And it was great because like she was there with us. So one of the kids rode with her, one of the kids rode with you. And I was just able to walk to the other end of the park to meet you and pretend that like you were not in the sky, even though nothing ever happens on that. It is like the most gentle, meditative little, and it was hard because like with some things, my mom, like knowing this is kind of where my head at was like, well, we can just not do that. And the thing is, I don't want anybody not doing things because of how I'm like, because I know it's all in my head. So like, I work very hard to try to not limit people based on my anxiety. So I know I need to talk to a therapist again, but it's also been interesting because like, I'm also getting older and like, I have some questions in my head about whether perimenopause is like somewhere in the goo of things happening in my body. And then it was also super interesting because it's very cute. We are now seeing the same physical therapist.
Uh-huh.
So he's working on my bottom half and your upper half.
Yes.
But he's great. But I had this like issue throughout the whole summer where my hip was really hurting. And then after like 3 months when it wasn't hurting every day, I still had like really limited motion. And if I did anything weird with it, the pain would come back. And I finally got myself in to see a physical therapist. I got like, my doctor had me have an x-ray. Everything looked good. I got in to see this guy. He was amazing. He like figured it out in like 5 minutes what was going on. And after that, after one session, like I know I have stuff to work on, but after one session, I felt like 80% better after 6 months of just like
agony,
weirditude. And it was so funny because the next week I was on a call with my boss and she was like, "You are so happy." You are in such a good mood. And I just sort of feel like, I don't know if it's that, you know, and I'm like, oh, like, yeah, maybe like feeling physically crappy for 6 months. Like,
yeah,
wasn't the best thing for my brain either. So
I grant that.
I don't know. I don't have that much to say about it. That is just the reality of where I'm at. I think, I don't know, you were just like listening to one of the call-in shows and that old chestnut came up of like, whether we have a soul or is it just the chemistry of our brain?
Right.
And I am always sort of floored by just how weirdly connected everything in our body is.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it was another moment of like, yes, I have to talk to a therapist. Like, yes, being in constant discomfort is like not good for anybody. Yes, my body is changing because we love each other's bodies as they age. And yeah, but I guess I also wanted to bring it up because it's been like that whole impulse has been a bit weird for the podcast too, because my brain does do a like, oh, can we talk about this? Yes. Or is that like, it's a very similar thing. But that's kind of how I've been rolling. How has your mental health been this summer?
My mental health this summer has, generally speaking, been quite excellent. I think I already told everybody that I am no longer going to therapy, but not because it didn't work, but because my therapist basically said, in a certain sense, you've graduated and you should go to as needed, because we started to run out of things to talk about. That I would be bringing up an increasing number of successes in the things that I was seeing my therapist about. And, you know, my therapist being a very goal-oriented, focused person, is like, I just don't want to burn time just to see each other. I want it to be as productive as possible. And so, I went to as needed. I think overall I handled all the transitions in and out of activities and then back into school very well. I really enjoy, like today and yesterday, after my therapy session yesterday, my shoulder feels better than it has in months. And yeah, I am so mentally strong that I have now faced down my dysmorphia and accepted the fact that I am getting older and that it will be increasingly difficult for me to keep off subcutaneous fat, but also that I like snacks and cocktails and life is too short. So I have made peace with a slightly fluffier version of myself, which is something that I think I used to be afraid of.
Oh, yeah.
And so if I decide to cut my calories for a bit or whatever, I just feel like I'm in more control now, because now it feels like a choice in doing a thing, because I know that I've gotten fluffier, but it's not like continuing. I've gotten fluffier by the amount that my increase in calories from having extra cocktails during the week and, a consistent nighttime, extra snack would participate in. And so I know that if I get rid of one or both for a certain period of time, I will lose what was put on. So I don't feel like it's out of control. So because of that, it feels like a very conscious thing. And as such, it's not a point of stress.
Honey, are you part of the great floofening of 2025?
I am not. I have not done for myself as well as Fussell has. Fussell is now a sausage. He's from shoulder to hip. He is a tube.
Yeah.
Of fluff.
Our cats. We have 3 cats. One is very old, and what is the technical medical name of her fast heartbeat?
Hyperthyroidism.
Yeah. So we cannot keep enough weight on her.
No.
And my goal is to make her final years as lovely as they can possibly be. And part of that means we used to be a kibble-only family, but I now feed her wet food 3 times a day. And Fussell would never forgive me if he wasn't at least a little bit involved in the wet food, because he loves nothing more in the universe
than wet food.
He taught himself to beg for wet food.
Oh, yes. He begs like an absolute champ.
Yeah. On his back legs, paws in the air.
Beg.
And so he now gets a little bit of wet food in the morning, but also I can't keep him always from eating the leftovers of Clea's wet food. So it's had a little impact.
He has gotten much fluffier.
So we refer to it as the great floofening of 2025.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's taken it very seriously.
Yeah, he works hard. Final topic, which I really wanted to talk about earlier, but I couldn't because of my brain. Sometime this summer, I was putting Go to sleep, and he let me know that he had been feeling a little bit scared. And we talked about it, and what had happened is that Go intellectually knew that people died, but it had finally sort of sunken in for him the reality of what that meant. And so he was feeling scared about the idea of death and losing people. And I am I know that is really hard to go through. On another level, I am so excited that he has reached this milestone of becoming a thinking person. And so I feel like death, being scared to tell kids about death is such a big part of people turning to religion and those answers. And it is something we do such a bad job of talking about. And I have really enjoyed having those conversations. And I feel like we will be having even more of them soon, because sadly, within the next 12 months will probably be when the kids go through losing the first person in our family that they actually know and care about. So,
well, P-pop.
That is true. But like,
they were much younger.
Yes, your grandfather, who was such an amazing man, they got to meet him. But when he died, they were so young. Like, I don't think they more experienced it in retrospect.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they were older, kind of like hearing the stories of him.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had met him and like thinking about the fact that he was gone. They've experienced that. But I don't think they were like in it when it happened to like realize they had lost somebody. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I think I'll start. One of the conversations I had with Go, which I thought was interesting, is this is after the initial, but he was talking about being scared about dying. And I told him that, like, in some ways that makes a lot of sense because he's young. And in ideal situations, like, we hate to see young people die. And it makes a lot of sense that he would be scared. And then we talked about older people. And, you know, I said, you know, when you get older, people have all sorts of different feelings. And it really just comes down to how you feel about ending. And we talked about P-pop, who had issues in old age where, like, he was really ready to go.
Yes.
When he went.
It's Parkinson's.
Yeah.
You can say it's Parkinson's, which is a horrible thing.
Yeah. You know, we talked about my mom, who has made it very clear that, like, and luckily, you know, knock on wood, my mom is doing great, but, like, she has made it clear on many occasions that, like, she is really happy with the life she got to live. And if she was to have a major medical issue or to die, like, she is feeling very much at peace with the life she lived and doesn't have a big issue with whenever she goes. And then there are other people who, like, aren't ready to end. And for them, it's like, you know, they're not happy about it. But I don't know, are there things that you want to make sure the kids know about death, or are there conversations you've had or ways you're thinking about addressing this in the future?
I think what it comes down to is making sure that the kids know that whatever feelings they have about death are likely to change from circumstance to circumstance. That there is no, like, one way to think about death, and that they're not required to have the same feelings about one person's passing as they would about another person's passing. And hand in hand with that, they're not required to memorialize everybody in the same way. Like, people's lives will leave different impacts and different legacies. And I just think the harder conversation will be that when the next person dies, that they might have to have this conversation all over again because they might have different feelings about that person's death and that person's legacy, you know, and that it's going to require the conversation to essentially happen all over again. But I think, like, with any set of impactful experiences, it's sometimes, like, they can be so impactful that you almost need multiple data points in order to figure out how you really could and should respond, or, like, how you should think about it. And so I'm kind of holding off the bigger conversations about this because all of that is such conjecture, and it's going to require, like, a sense of time and planning and forethought that I don't think it's fair to expect them to have or to even understand. So I'm not even going to discuss that side of things with them. I don't think it's fair to discuss that side of things with them yet. So for me, I would just discuss this one event and talk about this one person and then leave it at that and let the next iteration of death in their lives lead to another conversation and not have that conversation necessarily be predicated on this conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I think for Go, he's gotten very interested in like if there's a way to figure out how to live forever.
Oh, join the club, pal.
Well, I mean, I think, I've said a lot of times, I'm like, but if nobody dies and the earth fills up and we don't have room for new people. I know at one point, I think when he was like younger, we were having a similar conversation and he said, well, couldn't we just make the earth expand?
Well, that's what colonization is for.
Oh, God. But I think as a parent, I mean, you can go back and listen to our episode about like how to get over a fear of hell, which is kind of a way to get over a fear of death. Not exactly, but similar. But I think it did really change it for me as a parent because I care so much more about what happens to them than what happens to me that, I think at this point, like all my fears of death are just like, I don't want to die when they still really need me. But that's about it. I care.
That's like more normal parent stuff.
Yeah.
Like, or at least I think it should be more normal parent stuff.
But I think I think I really have reached a point where it's like, if you look at nature, like, I think you just see that like stuff has to turn over to get newness and growth. That's a process. And there are certainly circumstances where it can be absolutely tragic and terrible. But as a concept, I don't find death like a terrible, scary thing at all. And maybe that's why I don't have a huge issue talking with them about it when it comes up.
Yeah.
Because I'm not working through a lot of inherent fears about it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I have like weird competing views.
Okay.
Because I see death's necessity, which to me makes it, like I said, not particularly terrifying, just sort of a necessity. On the other hand, like the Handsome podcast, I really love Mae Martin on that podcast. And they were talking, there was a whole episode about religion, which was so interesting. And they were saying something about, like people who are like, God's just energy, man. God's just nature.
Yeah.
And kind of pointing out that like nature is not like perfectly good or beautiful. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm not, I see death as a necessity, but also like I think when you look to nature, I have a problem with people who paint nature as like perfectly beautiful and peaceful. Like I think nature is kind of brutal.
Kind of.
Which is like, well, like very brutal, right? And like, I don't know where my brain comes down between those concepts. I guess that gives me peace too, though, because it's sort of like, I think you just like, if you can see that all around you, I don't know if I can ascribe goodness or badness to it. So I think like, I know like aging is rough and we'd all like to go peacefully.
Sure.
So I'm not like, but I know that for a lot of people, that is not how it goes. So I'm not necessarily looking forward to it if it's a rough road out. But I think, I don't know, I guess I find something comforting in knowing that like, that's just kind of the way things work. And it's not about like punishment or what you're owed or what you deserve. It's just kind of the luck of the draw and the way things go sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that that's really well said. Like it's one of those moments where we're sort of compelled as people to share with our children this undeniable truth of reality, but then out of love are required to shield them somewhat, or at the very least to give them a framework in which they can have a growing or changing understanding of it as they get more information about it.
Yeah. And I also I think it's one of those things where I think kind of like what you were saying, we're not, each loss you experience is going to feel different.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those things where it's you get to feel about it however you want to feel. I mean, I think, I think sometimes I don't know, with so many things, I feel like we put codes around how you're supposed to feel about things. And I think you just end up feeling how you feel. Because I know so many people who, when they lose someone, feel numb and feel all this guilt about not feeling more immediate grief. Or, I feel like we sort of put this sort of weird value on people who are able to go out peacefully and but there's some people where it makes total sense if you're pissed. So yeah, I've just sort of been trying to acknowledge it and I guess just leave room to think about it.
Sure. Makes sense.
But I think it's so cool that it happened and he was able to pinpoint when it did for him. That huge mental leap of understanding something about the universe for the first time.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those parenting threshold moments. Most likely now we will not have that conversation with, anybody else in the same way again.
Yeah. And I certainly did not have as direct a conversation with Reader. I assume on some level they went through the same thing at some point, but they never pointed it out. And I don't remember those conversations gearing up, I don't well, was there a time when they were particularly concerned with issues of death or loss?
I don't remember.
They've certainly had anxieties, but I feel like it's been a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember.
And we've talked a little bit, not as much as I thought. We have not talked a lot about if there could be something afterward. I have certainly said that my best understanding is that we probably just end, but in goes kind of interest in living forever. It is not really hooked on to the afterlife very much. Though it certainly could. But I think kind of as the science magic guy that he is, I think his brain is still working that way. If there's a science or magic answer in this world. All right. I feel like I talked way too much this one.
No, it's absolutely fine. I love that you had a lot to get off your chest.
Okay.
And I hope you feel better.
Thank you. I have a really fun topic for next time that I will have lots of questions for you about.
Okay.
And yeah, should we call it there?
We can.
So we need to thank Jonathan Zalbin and First Frame Music for the music for this podcast.
And that wraps up this episode of The Family Skeptical, where nothing is sacred except for our kids. Okay. I'm looking at a picture of a cat who adventured through some very sappy plants and is absolutely covered. Oh no, poor baby. Oh.
All right, should we try to do this?
Sure.
Okay. I hear it thudding. I don't know what that is.
You can hear it through the mic?
Kinda.
Okay, then I'm gonna have to ask him to stop.
Is that from downstairs?
Yes, it's from downstairs. He's throwing the wall incessantly because that's what he does now.
Got it.
Or they. Sorry. I'm gonna go downstairs and talk to them.
I can't hear it now.
Because they stopped.
Okay.
And then they'll start again and then we'll hear it.
Okay.
Thank you. Also, take a moment to look at the text. Or you don't have your phone?
I don't have my phone.
Okay. You'll see the picture.
Okay. You could bring my phone up. It's probably on the kitchen counter. Oh no! It's better than I thought.
Zoom in on the bottom right. The whispers.
Oh, sweetie.
I returned. Mistakes were made. Yeah, not insignificant mess.
Yeah.